prefer to take questions rather than a Q&A. And so we have some pencils and some index cards. So we'll distribute them. You could fill out a question, and then we'll collect it through the program. Yep. Books will be down soon. They'll be coming down soon. We have a bookseller here. So what he's doing is he's signing them, and they could be personalized after the event. You can put your name if you want your name. He will, mention your name in that question. The index cards will also be in the back of the room, so if you decide that you have a question that comes to mind later, they will be there also. Hi, everybody. Can I just get your attention for one moment? For those that just newly arrived, Jacques Pépin is going to be taking questions in advance on Post-it cards. We do have some Post-it cards over there if you do have a question, and then you could give it to me or one of my colleagues, and then he will answer it while he's on stage conversation. Hey, everybody. Hope everybody is doing well. Books are for sale. We may not have enough for everyone, so you can pre-order the book and it will come with a signed book plate. So just please keep that in mind at the end of the event. I'm Anthony Maricola. I'm the Director of Adult and Information Services here, and on behalf of the Ferguson Library, welcome. I want to thank Elm Street Books for being here. While they do have copies of Jacques Pépin's latest book, The Art of Jacques Pépin, the cookbook, please support your local bookstores. It makes for a very nice holiday gift. And as I said, we may not have enough, but we can pre-order it and you will get a copy. I'm honored to introduce our guest today. Although he needs no introduction, Jacques Pépin is the winner of 16 James Beard Awards, author of more than 30 cookbooks, and his most recent, The Art of Jacques Pépin, the cookbook. The Connecticut resident is a chef, author, television personality, educator, and artist, and starred in 12 acclaimed PBS cooking series. His dedication to culinary education led to the creation of the Jacques Pépin Foundation in 2016. This is his third time at the Ferguson Library, and as always, we are very grateful. Moderating the conversation is Chef Michelle Nishan, four-time James Beard Award winner, author of 3 cookbooks, and a chef with over 35 years of leadership advocating for a more healthy, sustainable food system. He's also the founder and president of Wholesome Wave, which is an organization aimed at ending the food and nutrition insecurity crisis. Wow, there's a lot of talent on that stage. Thank you for being with us, gentlemen.
Well, clearly I'm the underachiever. Sick, but you know, Jacques is going to be 100 in 10 years. And that's the joke he got me once. I think 70-something, and said I'm going to be 80. And I was stunned. So amazing. As now said 80, said in 10 years. So I hope you don't mind that I borrowed your joke.
Oh, no, absolutely. He's much more famous than I am anyway.
That's
so.
not true. Anyway, I want to start Jacques because it's been an incredible, obviously.
Yes, crazy.
Been quite the moving target, but I also, just from personal observation, The Apprentice for a long time has been the book that really, I think, has galvanized a lot of your following to you because I got to know you quite personally. And I just want to share something really special with you guys. My wife is in a book club. That's my wife, Lori, over there.
Here she is.
Yeah, there she is. And she had her book club read The Apprentice earlier this year. She asked if Jacques would do it. So she was setting the whole thing up as a Zoom, and Jacques said, you know, why don't I just come there? So it was a surprise. Women were there, Jacques.
3. I don't know. Much. A few, yes. All your friends.
And yeah. I wanted to, you know, I didn't think about it. We were driving down. I'm like, should have brought the photo. Jacques surrounded by 22 women, all wearing white chef hat coats, with him in the middle.
That was funny, yeah.
That was funny?
Fun.
Yeah, it was fun, yeah. It's you still owe each of those women a date from what I understand.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, I want you to, what was interesting to me is that I think in that entire book there's a small handful of recipes, but they're so simple and so striking. I just would like you to talk about that a little bit. When you came for that particular event, we did your mama's souffle, which I thought was sensational because it's one of the things that people have so much trouble cooking on their own. You mind talking about that recipe a little bit?
Yes. Well, you know, I was born a long time ago, and I was raised during the war in France, and my mother was a very miserly cook. This is why I am so miserly as well. But apparently she told me that when she got married, she knew how to cook, but not that well. And my father asked her to make a souffle. She never made a souffle. She didn't really know. She asked a friend of her, And he said, no, that's easy. It's just a white sauce, a bechamel, with eggs in it. That's it. So she did a white sauce, and she break eggs. She put it in there like you do an omelette. She didn't separate the egg white, the egg yolk, or anything. Put it into a gratin dish, and it worked actually quite well, to my surprise, because one time she came to my house 30 years ago or two, and she said, I'm going to do a souffle. I said, Mom, it's not going to work with that. She said, don't worry about it. So this is the souffle that you did for like 40 people, and it was really good.
Well, it was amazing. So how many people have the book The Apprentice? Okay, great. Those of you who don't really need to get it, because if you think of the real souffle, it's like you separate the egg white, you separate the egg yolk, egg into bechamel. You separately beat the egg whites, stiff peak, and then you fold these things, and it's just like, and you put it in the oven and you pray that it's actually going to come out the way that it's supposed to. This thing, it's like you make the bechamel, you beat the eggs in it, you fold in the Gruyere cheese, put it in a casserole dish, and it's out awesome.
You can do it the day before too. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know. It's incredible. And then talk about the egg Jeannette, because I thought that's
egg
pretty cool too.
In there. I love eggs. And was the egg Jeannette. I named it after my mother, Jeannette. And it was just a hot cooked egg, but she cut it in half, took the yolk out, chopped. At that time, we didn't have a food processor, so chopped a lot of garlic, a lot of parsley, garlic, mixed with the egg yolk, salt, pepper, a dash of milk to make a paste, restuff the eggs, and then saute the egg. I mean, stuff side down in a skillet with a bit of butter and oil. She browned it. It browned very fast. And then she had a little bit of the stuffing left, mixed with mustard and olive oil to do a mustard sauce to do those eggs, which is a kind of, eggs like those eggs, what do you call it, with the
deviled eggs.
Yeah, the deviled eggs and so forth, but with a different angle. Yeah. And it's quite good, and it's very easy.
It's actually quite exceptional, and it's simple. So Jacques' love for his mother is pretty profound. Clearly, the impact that she's had on his life is pretty profound, and now she and her recipes live on his book. So we would encourage you to do the same with your kids. If there's something that you cook at home that you love, please do document the recipe, keep it simple, but make it
Yes,
delicious.
I mean, taste memory, is very important. If I close my eyes and if you give me a chicken with cream sauce with tarragon, my mother used to do, I say, well, that's my mother's chicken. Those tastes stay with you the rest of your life, and they attack you when you don't expect it. What I'm saying is that, I can't walk in the wood with my dog looking for nothing at all, walking, and I smell mushroom, and all of a sudden I'm 8, 10 years old looking for mushroom with my father and my brother too. So those taste, smell, what Proust in remembering of things past called the affective memory. It is the memory of the senses, of the see, of the eye, of the smell, and all that. Those are certainly very important for a cook. So, those memories, you want to keep them.
And I think food memories are the most powerful. Now I'm going to really test your.
Oh boy!
Yeah, because this is how, as many of you may know, Jacques will be turning 90 this year, and
Yeah. I wish I didn't.
I wish I could win the lottery so I could pay someone to make sure I look as good as you look. I'm 90. I have a Medicare card and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I've got I think I have 12 more James Beard awards to go. Good luck. Good luck, Misha. Anyway, so this year, Jacques' son-in-law, Raleigh Weeson, executive director of the Jacques Pépin Foundation, had this idea to do 90 birthday parties for Jacques' 90th year. Who came up with that idea? Was it Raleigh?
Oh, him, of course, yes. Him and Claudine. They did 90 parties for chefs. 90 chefs are doing 90 party for meat. 90 home cook are doing 90 party. Just did a menu for Isaac Mizrahi, so the designer. He told me, I'm doing a party at home. Can you draw the menu for me? So yes, it's been going on the whole year.
And how many have you been to? Because obviously you can't make every one, right?
Yeah.
How
no,
many have you been to?
Probably 20.
20?
So
Okay.
I just come back from the West Coast. Napa Valley, we did. I was there 16 days, and we did many and some. It goes from a restaurant, Madison, Connecticut, where I come from. Steve, recognize my accent from Connecticut. So we had there in a little brasserie. He had a dinner like this. We charged, I think, $250 with 4 different type of wine and the whole thing too. Last week on the West Coast, Thomas Keller charged $5,000 on the thing at 12 book and $4,000 on 3. It's been kind of incredible. And they give whatever they want to the foundation. I mean, the foundation, I did 13 series of 26 shows, which is 100 show for PBS for the last 40 years. And so there's a lot of teaching. My son-in-law is a chef. About 15 years ago, he decided to teach. So he went to Johnson & Well. They took him, then he got his master and his PhD, full professor there. And he started picking out all of those recipes out of different shows, extrapolating, so forth for at some point he told me, you've been teaching all your life, so who do you think you'd like to teach now, about 12, 15 years ago? So we talked about it, and I said, maybe the people who have been a bit disenfranchised with life, like people who come out of jail, homeless people, former drug addicts, people coming out of jail. So that's what we teach. We teach those people through community kitchen, to redo a life. And frankly, I can teach someone in 6 weeks, how to clean salad, peel potato, peel asparagus, and so forth, boil an egg. And if that person likes it, they stay in that little restaurant. 5 years later, maybe they are the chef. They kind of redo a life. So the foundation has been really good this way, very rewarding also. So,
well, I think the mission of the foundation is to enhance lives and enrich communities through the power of culinary education. The theory is that that technique can actually lead to the opportunity that so many of those who have fallen on hard times or made a couple of mistakes in their lives often don't have. And as a running total, Jacques, we've gone actually since COVID, we went from an average of 100,000 vacant positions field to almost there's plenty of opportunity out there.
Yeah, but your business is about the same, or somewhere to people as well, back into the world of food.
Yeah, we do, but we're talking about you today. We're not talking about me. He does this. He's got this habit. It's been like true, turning it around. No, well, we both share, and we are aligned on the power of food. Make the world a better place for, regardless of city, where they come from, to who they pray, who they love, no matter what, have the right to really themselves and their families. So we're aligned on that.
And cooking is the best way of getting to know people. Sharing food, of course, is part of it. And there is no political implication, no racial implication, no religious implication. You're in the kitchen. We have a T-shirt who said, everyone looks the same, the eye of the stove. And it's true. So in the kitchen, we're all the same. So we are been doing that, and it's been quite successful, thanks mostly to my son-in-law and my daughter who have created that. So I've been very lucky this way. I would never have done it myself. Then at the beginning of the pandemic, like 4 or 5 years ago, my daughter Claudine told me, "Why don't you do for Facebook? Why don't you do recipe of like 4 minutes, 5 minutes, for people with what you have left over and so forth." So we did 400 of those in my house, and there is a different one every day on Facebook. I don't really go on Facebook, so it's been very successful too. Again, I would not have done that. It's my daughter who did it.
Well, I think what's interesting about that, and then I have a follow-on, a couple of follow-ons. So I want to get back to testing your the you had, I think, on Facebook a couple of 100,000 followers, something. Or no, actually, I think it was like 38 or 40,000 followers. And you started doing the videos, and now you have 1.4 million followers.
1.9.
1.9?
Yeah.
It keeps growing and growing and growing. At 1.9?
Yeah, it's free.
I stand corrected. Ask my wife; she'll tell you I can't count. She'll also tell you I can't find my socks in my sock drawer. But again, 1.9. Thank you. Penny, you might have to help us with this, Kelsey. That, by the way, Kelsey Whitsett, right there. Would you stand just serious, please? This is Jacques' right hand, his direct assistant, who Lori and I and so many people who know and love Jacques are so grateful that the universe has blessed us with a woman. Yeah. Been working with Jacques for years now, keeping the trains running on time. And you might have to correct us, but how many recipes did Raleigh uncover? So his son-in-law, they're in the process now of doing video recipe books to bring and create this almost like our institute-style archive of recipes. How many recipes?
How many, Kelsey? I forgot.
Yeah. Well, it's thousands. And actually, it's many thousands. Text Raleigh. Oh, Raleigh's on a cruise. Never mind. Okay, next time. Okay, the next time you guys come, because I see so many familiar faces here. God bless you all for this love and this ongoing support and interest in everything that Jacques does. So we'll have the answer for you someday. Now, here's the thing: 90 for 90 dinner. Tell us some of the most outstanding dishes.
Oof. Truffle, caviar, champagne.
Yeah. People don't eat caviar.
And some other very simple roasted chicken with, with potato too. I mean, one or the other. You cook. You cannot cook indifferently. So you have to put some of yourself cooking. So those chefs are cook. For me, whether it's very fancy or very ordinary, it's always loving food, and it's always great to
pivot. Did anybody do your recipe? Because I didn't ask. I haven't asked you that question.
Yes, well, that happened very often. I remember years ago I used to give classes. 1974 to go back. I had very bad accident. I had the 12th fracture. I broke my back, 2 hip, leg, arm, shoulder. Anyway, I'm supposed to leave or walk again. Started walking again. So at that point, it was coincidental with women liberation was starting and organic gardening. Health food store. I mean, there were women opening first little cookware shop with a cooking school in the back too. And I started going classes there. And they booked me like 35, 38 weeks out of the year. When I went somewhere, they said, "Can we book you for next year?" So I used to go on and go on like that all over the country. And very often when I came there, like the first night, they invite maybe the press there or the paper. And it was always a party where they did my recipe. And they always like 6 or 7 of the teacher there. We did all your recipe. I would never have recognized one. Most of the time, I said, "That's your recipe." I said, "Yeah, that's good. That's fine." Go to the you know, recipe you take a recipe and you take it and it does change. I mean, basically for me, I tell people if I do a recipe, if you do a recipe of mine, I would want you to do it exactly the way it's written the first time. And you do it, and if it comes out good, but you're likely to do it again. The next time you do it again, maybe the same way. After 2, 3 times, maybe I'll put a bit more tomato, or I won't do that, or this. And then you start massaging that recipe to your own taste, your own sense of aesthetic. And a year later, it's your recipe that become yours. You massage it enough, it's not mine anymore. So that the process should be, but not change the whole thing the first time.
Well, I think the intention of a recipe from the writer is to share technique, dish, the backstory, head notes, whatever inspired it, but to give enough guidance so that the maker build their confidence in a way that gets them comfortable with the making of that dish, so that it become their.
Yes, absolutely. But certainly for me, the book that I'm most known for is called La Technique. And April this year, there is a new edition coming out to celebrate the 50th anniversary. It was printed in spring '76. So that came from giving those classes that I was explaining. I go there, I peel a carrot, and people say, "Wow, that's how you peel a carrot." I say, "Yes." So I decided to do that book of technique, and that book of technique was 1,500 page. I did a method, a continuation, another 1,500 page of hundreds of technique. And I don't cook the same way that I cooked 50 years ago when I did that. But the technique, the way you sharpen a knife, peel an asparagus, wash an egg, and all are the same. So those techniques remain basically the same. That's why they're still on. Because in the book La Technique, very often I didn't even have any recipe at the end. I did the technique, how to do that, and that's it. And then, yeah, that book is still on because of that.
It's interesting, and I know that Jacques has heard this from a number of my professional colleagues, from Mark Murphy to Bobby Flick to Marcus Samuels, so many others from around the country who have said that book was Tom Colicchio. That was, we could spend the entire time just. No, okay, all right, great. But they same reaction that I had. So I was a young cook. I had worked on my grandfather's farm. I knew how to do things. I could raise an entire hog by the time 12 or. I knew how to can, how to pickle, how to ferment. I didn't know what to call anything. I ended up working in the kitchen because I didn't know the language. The Alsatian chef would say to me, "Go get me an 1180A strip." To me, it was a backstrap. No idea what he was talking about. So I ended up peeling potatoes and onions, and I have to skill up. I went to a bookstore, and Paul Bocuse's book had came out around the same time that La Technique came out, and I opened it up, and the recipes were like 4 pages to a recipe. All the French words that I had, it was the language I was having trouble with. And then I run into this picture book. How many people have La Technique? Yeah, now he's got over 30 books. We don't expect you to have all of them, but so on your list, you're going to get The Apprentice and you're going to get La Technique. It was this picture book where step by step how to do a Chateaubriand. And I remember the maitre d' at Sage's restaurant in Arlington Heights just going berserk because nobody in the kitchen seemed to know how to do a proper Chateaubriand. Taking the head of the tenderloin, Jacques, just cutting it off, putting it under an infrared broiler and slicing it. And I looked in the book, took the head of the tenderloin, stood it up, you wrapped it in a towel, pounded it, and you cooked it straight up, carved it on an angle. So I went into work, and I did that. I was working the broiler station that night, and the maitre d' came back and kissed me on both cheeks and called me a genius. Thank you for making me a genius. But here's my question. Yeah, amen.
No.
That book actually kickstarted my career because I learned the language, and then people started to take me. Thank you, but why pictures? Like why that was one of your first books, and and it was just so well done with real just plain English. It's almost like you knew the audience country who had yet to discover how to cook. Tell me about it, please. Tell us about it.
But
Why pictures? Why this approach at that time?
yeah, as I said, because I was giving those classes, and they were astonished the way you were peeling an onion, a carrot, too. So I decided to put that step by step. Those books, for the basic, because I was in apprenticeship in 1949, so it's a long, long time ago. Prior to that, I was in the kitchen with my mother with a restaurant. So that time, the world was quite different. The cook was at the bottom of the social scale. You know, the good mother would have wanted her child to marry a doctor, a lawyer, not a cook. Certainly. Now we are genius. I don't know what happened. They go. So it's totally different than it used to be. So certainly, I worked for almost 10 years in Paris, the 50s, the Plaza Athénée, Maxime Fouquet's. Eventually, I worked for the president. But at that time, the idea was to conform. You didn't go there to change and do your own stuff. If you work at the Plaza Athénée, for example, then there was no recipe. I never used a recipe before I came to the United States. So you look at it, you do it, you duplicate, and you conform exactly to the way it is. We were 48 chefs, the Plaza Athénée, Paris, the 50.
For how many customers?
48 for about 300. Yes, right. So, and a famous dish, for example, was the lobster soufflé. When the 48 chef could have done the lobster soufflé, you wouldn't have known which one had done it. That was the idea. But I say quite different now that young chefs say, make sure I sign the book, they know I'm doing it, you know, create and all that. That did not exist at that time. You follow what was done there, and you learn this way. But a different way of learning.
I think, you know, of everybody, I try to think about this. I do this some of us wake up at 3 or some kind of strike business idea, creative idea, whatever it might be. I wake up one, what cookbooks would look like and what restaurants would be like today in America were it not for you, Pierre Franet, at Craig Claiborne, James Beard coming together when you did to open this world of food up, to get people from a third-class citizen to someone who actually respected in society.
It was not really before the CIA, which is the Culinary Institute of America, started in New Haven, you know, before moving upstate New York. That was at the end of the 60s. But otherwise, there was not any school or thing. I mean, when I came to America in 1959, I worked at the Pavilion. The Pavilion was supposed to be the greatest French restaurant, and it was a great restaurant. And the Craig Claiborne just started at the New York Times as a food critic. And the Craig came to review the Pavilion and was introduced to him. We became friends. And he introduced me to a woman called Helen McCulley. Helen McCulley was the food editor of McCall, House Beautiful, those magazines. She kind of became my surrogate mother. Don't do this, don't do that. And Helen spoke with James Beard on the telephone like 1 hour every day. You know. So I met James Beard. I met Craig Claiborne. And then a few weeks later, she said, oh, I have a book here. I want you to take a look at that book. Took a look at the book. I said, you know, that's pretty good. She said, I have to review it. It's called Mastering the Art of French Cooking. And of course, it was Julia's book. So she said, I said, it's good. So she said, well, the woman lives in Boston, but she's coming in a couple of weeks. You want to cook for her? I said, sure. So Julia came, and we actually spoke French. She just came back from France. Her French was better than my English at the time. But what I want to say that I knew Julia Child, James Beard, Craig Claiborne. This is the trinity of cooking in America within less than a year after I was here. So the food world was very, very small. It was totally different now. Yeah.
Well, I thank God for all of you. Many, many blessings for that, because I might be an auto mechanic right now. Who knows, really? No, seriously. Now, I want to talk about your latest book, because that's what's over there today. So, The Art of Cooking. But I want to set a little bit of context. I've been blessed. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I've been blessed to know you for a few decades now. But what's been remarkable to me is watch how people will ask Jacques, "Are you retired? When are you going to retire? Are you thinking about retirement? When are you going?" And Jacques would be, and you would say, "And do what?" "Don't golf." They're like, "Well, you could do art." He's like, "You could paint." "I paint." He paints a lot. How many people have been to the Jacques Pépin Art? Buddy? Okay. Yeah, you need to look at. This man is so incredibly prolific. It's like, I paint, cook, I write. What would I do? Here's a 90-year-old youngster who just came back from Napa Valley, doing many amount of days that he was there, and just recently came out with this book. But it actually is a book that I really delves into both of the arts you're responsible for. Want to talk about the book a little bit?
Yes, well, in that book, I have, I think, 160 paintings, 90 recipes, opposite of what ROS did, and I don't have any picture of food. I just have, so actually I try at the beginning. I have done, as I say, many books. One of the books that I did a few years ago was The Art of the Chicken. I draw a lot of chicken, and I do. So I called my editor, and I said, "I want to do a book of my drawing, painting of chicken." She said, "Absolutely." As soon as I sent one picture of one chicken, she said, "Can I have a recipe with that?" I didn't want a recipe. So in that book, I told you story about my mother, story about when I was a kid, which has to do with chicken or eggs or stuff like this. So in this one here, well, I have more of the painting and all that. So it's been very rewarding for me to do. It goes back to at the beginning even. When I came to this country, I came on a student boat, in 1959, and I came for 1 year. I will go to America for a year. And I mean, most people come to America for economic reason, or racial reason, or political reason, or religious reason. So I didn't really have anything like this. I had a great business in Paris. My parents had a restaurant. So I said, I'll come for a year. On that student boat, I asked, there was a teacher there, so French. I said, I'm going to be in New York for a year. I want to improve my English, but do you think I could go? Columbia University is the best school in New York. So I said, okay. The week after I was here, I took the subway, went to Columbia. Somehow I found someone who spoke French, who took me to the right office, and I registered for English for French, student. That was 1959. I stayed at Columbia working in New York until 1972, when I proposed a doctoral dissertation on an history of food in the context civilization literature. So I went to Columbia for years and years and years, and that's one of the reasons I really, I had left school when I was 13 in France, so I never went to high school or, anything like that. So
and then you became a professional student.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, this is what changed my life also and so.
And I think it's interesting because when we think back of the art of Jacques Pépin, the obvious art, so many of my colleagues, so many of you, obviously, is the magic of how he's welcomed people in cooking and made cooking a possible part of their lives. But the imagery and the photography, art are something that I think takes it to an incredibly different level. And then the videography, right? So you've had someone working now for how long?
42 years.
42 years.
Yes.
That's longer than my wife and I. 41 years, by the way.
Yeah, Tom Hopkins is live in Madison, Connecticut too. He's a photographer, video man, and so forth. And we became friends. I forget which book I was doing. He came to start doing the picture, and we became friends. Actually, I just called him because he has my dog. He took my dog this afternoon. So Tom became great friend. He's the one who actually did those 400 little show for Facebook. In the last couple of years, he, during the pandemic, he came to my house, and even his wife didn't come in. So we had a mask. So I did the recipe and did the dishes, and he showed it and so forth. We did 10, 12 a day usually of those small recipes. So Tom has been, I've been very lucky to have a friend like that. And he's the one who decided to do an art site and sell my painting. My painting are for sale all over. And about 50 years ago, maybe, Stony Creek, another little town next to Madison, I knew the librarian there, and he said, "Oh, do you want to do a show of your painting?" I said, "Yeah, good idea." So I took 50 of my painting. I bought 4 cases of wine. I cooked. My wife cooked. We invited all our friends to have a drink, and someone said, "Gee, I like that painting." So, okay, you can have it. I like that one. You can have it. I got rid of 50 painting. I never sold one painting. So at some point, Tom said, "I'm going to do an outside." Now he's selling some painting. There is a painting in that book he showed me the other day. He sold it a few weeks ago for $24,000. How can you imagine?
Ha ha, wee.
Hey.
It's unbelievable. Well, I think, and just 2 more questions. One, and Tom helped me on, right? And Jacques said, how many recipes?
It's 160 painting, I believe.
Yeah, and like 50 recipes.
Like 100 recipe.
Yeah,
99.
It's like a complete flip. So I've done first of all, I've done 3 cookbooks. Again, underachiever. Three cookbooks. I've had 3 different food photographers.
Oh,
you've had one for like 42 years.
Yeah.
But it's usually 100 recipes or 120 recipes, and it seems like you're really determined to have a book that has no recipes. So actually, this is a question for you. How many of you agree with the publisher that any book that this man puts out should at least have a couple of recipes in it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, are you kidding? No, I mean, I did so many books in the 80s, in the continuation of La Technique and La Méthode, which was in black and white, by the way, because it was so many years ago. We decided to do The Art of Cooking. The Art of Cooking took 5 years. We did 38,000 pictures, and we gave 3,000 pictures, 2 volumes of 1,500 pictures each. And it's probably the best book that I've done, cooking wine. It's also probably the one who sold the least of any book that I've done. It's still on. So Tom took it for 5 years, We took the house. So Tom was great. I mean, my son,
He's not a bad bull player either.
He's a good bull player.
Very good. So last question. I stopped counting at 30. How many books do you even know?
How many books I have?
How many books?
No, here is why.
Kelsey.
Because I did those series. We do the series on television. Each time I do a series on television, there is a theme. Like I had a column in the New York Times for 10 years called The Purposeful Cook, which was to cook for a family of 6 for the least amount of money. So I did a series on television called Cuisine Économique, which is really emphasized. I use chicken bone, neck, too, and so forth. But I did 3 series, a 26 show called Fast Food My Way. I wanted to show people that in a professional kitchen, You have the prep cook coming in the morning, and he bone out the chicken, he bone out the fish, chop the shallots, slice the mushroom. So you come to the stove, someone order a piece of fish, right there you grab it, the shallot, a bit of wine, bring it to a boil, finish it, and it's finished in 5-6 minutes because you have all the prep. So I use the supermarket other prep cook, skinless, boneless breast of chicken, pre-sliced mushroom, whatever, and within 30 minutes of the show, I could do 3-4 recipes. And so I did 3 series of this, and I did series of this, series on that. So each of those series are the kind of theme, you know. That's what I did. So many series, but I don't even know why I started that.
No, because of how many cookbooks you have.
Oh yeah,
and we've
the
determined it's
that
35.
Yeah, the first 3 series I did 2 days gourmet. I did 1 series of 26 shows. 2 days gourmet, the second series, and a third series with a different name. And it was published. So I had 3 little books, and they put the 3 little books together into a large book called Jacques Pépin's Table. So now, do I have 1 book or 4 books? That's why I don't know exactly.
Well, thank you for that, Jacques. And I'm going to guess that this likely is not, that there will be probably a book.
I don't know.
I know, and
well, probably if there is another book, it would be another book that I wanted to mention, Book of Menu. I was married 55 years, you know, my wife died a few years ago. And at the beginning, in the 70s, people came, we invited people, and Gloria said, why don't you write the menu? So we bought a book, I write the menu on one side, and people sign on the other side to say funny things and all. And I started illustrating those. So I have 12 books that thick at home now of menu. My daughter, Claudine, is 57 years old. She came a few weeks ago and she said, you know what I ate for my 5th birthday? I said, yes, let's look. So we find our 5th birthday. She drew a little chicken at the time too. So, you know, those 12 books that I have, it's my whole life, the whole memory, whether it's my mother or my 2 brothers. Many people who are gone are in those books of menu. And it's not complicated to do. You buy a book, when people come, you write a menu, people sign. So I did a book of menu, which I did about 75 or 80 drawing of menu, left the inside empty for people to fill up the menu, and people sign on the other side. So that book of menu, if I were to do another book, it would be another book of menu because I have a lot of drawings.
I love that, Jacques. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now we're going to open it up for questions. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Good? You ready?
Ready, yeah.
And I guess, you know, my last statement is like retiring immediate. Okay. You mentioned in the intro of this book that you have been painting, cooking since teenager. Do you paint every day? And do you find that you cook or paint more? So do you paint every day? And what do you do more often, cook or paint?
A possible question. Whose question was that? Okay. Oh, yeah. All right. So I probably paint more than I did, more now, and cook less. I have to say that since my wife gone, you know, it's a different world. You know, I mean, we used to have an aperitif at 6 o'clock and a bottle of wine, sit down for dinner for over 55 years. So it's another world. So now I cook less for myself, of course. But you change, you know, your metabolism change. I don't cook the way that I cook 40, 50 years ago, as I said. You know, when you're a young chef, in that book, The Art of Cooking, as I said, which I did, you add to the plate, you add decoration too. And as you get older, your metabolism change. You take away from the plate to be left with something more essential, you know, like a tomato out of the garden just right too. So I don't need any more embellishments around, you know. So yeah, your metabolism change, your cooking change, and that's the way it goes too, you know.
Who's watching Gaston?
Yes, is that Tom?
Tom.
Tom, my friend Tom is watching Gaston. Gaston is my little poodle. I think he's a Rottweiler, but he's a little poodle.
he definitely punches above his weight.
Yes, we had many dog. We had a Rottweiler actually when we got married. Then we had the son of that Rottweiler. Then we had a third one. And then after we had the black lab. Then we had a golden. We had a dog from Portugal. And after like 40 some years, my wife said, "Okay, next one, small, no shedding, no smelling." So we moved to Portugal. Yes.
Awesome. And that's from Fred Albano, who's a friend of Stacy and Tim are represented.
Yeah.
Best childhood memory.
Well, childhood memory, the memory with the family, cooking together in the kitchen or going mushrooming, dog or kid. Yeah, I mean those memory of childhood stay with you forever.
Do you have a favorite Thanksgiving recipe?
Oh, I love Thanksgiving. There is no religion, there is no political date that you kill so many people. There is nothing. It's just getting together, eating together too. So yes, Thanksgiving for me is the best holiday of all. We're doing a big turkey.
What was it like? What was it like to cook with Julia Child?
Well, Julia, it's interesting. I talked before about 13 series that I did. Each time I did a series, like cuisine economic, I came with the manuscript of the book. I work about 100, 120 recipes first. I come with a manuscript at least to give to the back kitchen too, so they had an idea of what we were going to do that day. Except for Julia, we had no recipe. So I knew her forever. So she said, "Why don't you write 100 things that you want to do? And I'm going to write 100 things that I want to do." So she did, I did, and I think 3 of mine made it. So we had the food on the table and we start cooking. It was crazy for the cameraman too, because I didn't know where we were going to go right, left too. But for me, frankly, the easier way to cook, other chef, other professional chef, you put things on the table, I will cook it, you know. And we had many letters of people saying she was so much more French than I was. And it is true in the sense she said we started cooking together because she went to France in 1949 as well, and I was in apprenticeship at that point. So the style of cooking at that point, she stayed with that style of cooking probably more than I did. So I start changing more. And for example, one time we were doing spinach. So I washed the spinach. I took a big handful of spinach, put it into a skillet, cover it. She said, "No, you can't do that." I said, "Well, yeah, we have to blanch the spinach first." I said, "No, we don't do that anymore." "Oh, yeah." So, and it's true. When I work at the Plaza in Paris or whatever, we had that big cauldron of water, spinach, string beans, any green vegetable. You blanch them in boiling water, drain them, cool them up, press them into bowl. That's the way you started the recipe with that, which didn't anymore. So we had those arguments. We had those arguments all the time. It was fun in a sense, you know, but nothing was rehearsed. And yeah, we had a good time. But you know, I had been going to her house for years. So, as I said, after I finished at Columbia, I was asked to teach at the BU at Boston University, and I'm still giving lecture occasionally. That 40 some years later. So I went to when I went to Boston, I usually went to see Julia. So I said, "Why don't you teach with me at BU?" So we started teaching together some classes in the 80s. And he said at that time, you know, we have to write to John Silbert for the president of BU. He said, "We should have something in gastronomy. I mean, there is nothing." I said, "You're right." So we wrote to Silbert to say, "Okay, fine." So we established a Master of Liberal Art with a concentration in gastronomy, food writing, and it's still on. So we did that the beginning of the 80s or 85. So yeah, we cook together often.
What was Gloria's favorite fish? How did you prepare it?
My wife's favorite fish, she loved fish. I would say black sea bass, that's it, really good fish cooked, pretty rare for. My wife was born in New York City, but mother was Puerto Rican, father Cuban, so that's why I always say I am probably considered as the quintessential French chef. And then you take one of my books, you open page 22, you have a black bean soup with banana and cilantro on top. Because for my wife, then you have a lobster roll from Connecticut and a New England clam chowder. So I consider myself probably the quintessential American chef. But yeah, many recipe. Gloria was a very good cook too. It's not like came into the kitchen and she would tell me, "What do you?" No, I came into the kitchen. She would say, "Don't touch anything."
Awesome. Black bass is one of my favorites. I love it.
Yeah.
So, what was the most challenging dish or technique you had to master, and how long did it take? For me, it's putting my socks on without having to lay down on the floor.
For me, probably.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah, no.
most challenging dish or technique.
No, I can't really think of one. It's a question of repeats. Like people often tell me, "Boy, I saw you boning out a chicken in a minute and do." Yes, I'm sure that the first time that I did it, I didn't do it this way, but the speed come as you practice. Actually, you get the type of speed that.
For mine, it was at Sage's restaurant where I became a genius, Chateaubriand. It was learning how to do galantines and ballotines.
But I bone out a chicken.
How many people know what that is? Oh, a good number, right? It's basically when you disassemble an animal and then you use a force meat or pate or other stuff it and you sew it back up and kind of reassemble the animal, but it no longer has bones in it. Did I do a good job of explaining that, Jack?
Yeah,
Was it okay?
good.
It's okay. When you're tired, what do you have for dinner?
Bottle of wine.
Hey, Eileen, he answered your question. All right. I like that answer. Can you talk about your experience at Howard Johnson? Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is somebody whose ice cream that you were at, that you had worked in Flushing. Catherine, can you talk about your experience at Howard Johnson's, please?
Yes, in 1960, I worked at the pavilion, as I said. One of the clients of the pavilion was Howard D. Johnson. And at that time, I was offered a job at the White House, Kennedy. It was actually Joseph Kennedy, the father, who was also client at the pavilion, who, when Kennedy was running for president, offered me the job at the White House. And I have to say that, as I explained before, cook was at the bottom of the social scale at that. I had been the chef to 3 presidents in France, including Charles de Gaulle, between 56 and 58. The Fourth Republic, the government were changing at a rapid pace. And I never had once people coming to pulling me to the dining room for Trudeau. Are you kidding? That did not exist at all. I survived on the way on Nehru, Tito, Macmillan, the head of state that I served. At the time, that didn't exist. The cook was in the kitchen. That was it. I never had an interview with a magazine, newspaper, television. Barely existed. So that was a different world. Saying that to say that one was offered a job at the White House, wasn't that excited about it. First, because I didn't want to move to Washington. I was going to Columbia, doing all kind of things in New York. And at that point, Mr. Johnson offered Pierre Freinet, who was the executive chef at the pavilion, the job of vice president for Howard Johnson to work on. Pierre wanted me to go with him. So I decided to go to Howard Johnson. So I worked. Mr. Johnson came to my wedding. He came to the christening of Claudine. I worked there from 1960 to 1970 for 10 years as director of research and development. I'd never worked with chemistry. I never worked with recipe. With six chicken in the test kitchen and finished with 3,000 pounds of chicken in 1,000-gallon kettle. So it was another world that I learned. Actually, when I left Howard Johnson, restaurant Avenue in New York called La Potage, production of soup too. Then I was a consultant at the Russian Tea Room. When the World Trade Center, the commissary, we served 25,000 people a day, different restaurants, the commissary that I set up there. I'm saying that to say I would never have been able to do any of those jobs without the training of Howard Johnson. It was another world of that type of production. So Howard Johnson and American Eating Habits and all kind of people are still talking to me about the fried clam version and all stuff that they had. We did fried clam at the time. We had clam. I don't know where we get them. Enormous clam, deep sea clam like this, which we open and we only use the tongue. The tongue, we put it through a machine to do long strip. That was the fried clam. And the body of the clam, we did the clam chowder with. So, yeah, that was another world.
I think we'll close on that. When you have, I think we're getting close to 3.8 billion people in the world, you need to be able to feed people at a time, sometimes thousands at a time. And I think this fine young man has been able to do it in a way that proves that no matter how you do it, if you're thoughtful, if you care, if you use tremendous technique. Can you all join me in a huge round of applause in thanking this man?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Now we're going to have a glass of wine.
Now we're going to have a glass of wine.
Good.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you for coming.